as you read the CNBC or the Bloomberg News and you see there's trouble on the horizon, the easiest thing to do is say, oh, well, just excuse the lack of growth. There are competitors that you're competing against right now who are going to die during this recession. Be ready to pounce. Continue to keep your growth mindset. Now is an opportunity for you to shine. Welcome to the new year and the Day 2 podcast. Let's face it, folks, 2022 was nuts. We started the year with COVID supply chain issues that were carrying over from COVID. Then Russia invaded Ukraine, and the Ukrainians showed us what freedom was worth, everything. Inflation took off like wildfire. I'm old enough to remember when my parents were worried about inflation in the 70s and early 80s, and it's back. The supply chain messages, the shortages driven by war in Europe. We had a midterm election that didn't go as planned for the Republican Party. Will Smith slapped the shit out of Chris Rock right on stage in the Oscars. Now, if that's not a crazy year, I don't know what is. Welcome, everybody, to the new year. We are so happy to have you with us. I'm joined today by Shannon Roddy, head of biz dev at Avenue 7 Media, Amazon educator, and all-around great guy. Shannon, how is the new year treating you so far?
So far, so good. So far, so good. So we're a couple days in.
The year is too young. Yeah.
I'm not counting seconds yet, but I'm really excited about, honestly, Jason, I'm excited about what we're doing here at Avenue 7 Media. Our team is relentlessly optimizing not only our clients, but we're continually refining the business practices, the protocols, everything that we do every single day becomes better, which gives our clients better results from the technology that we use to the team that we're hiring and bringing on. So I'm loving it. I think it's going to be an amazing year.
Thanks for saying that nice thing about Avenue 7. It's been an amazing 2022 and really excited about 2023 as well. I'm here. I've got my dad sweater on, Shannon. I'm at an Airbnb, or I'm at a rental in Sun River, Oregon. Going to take the girls snowboarding tomorrow morning. I'm really excited about that. Hopefully I don't break my neck on the mountain. But what I really want to do today with you is talk about the year that was 2022, and then make some early predictions about how we think things are going to roll out in this Amazon game and this e-commerce game in 2023. What say you?
It's interesting. You've been in this game 20 years. I've been in it for 10. And I used to think being a visionary was being able to miraculously see into the future. I've studied a ton about innovation, read about visionaries who saw into the digital future and saw what was coming. And you're like, oh my gosh, it was amazing. But all they did was follow the line of this is their trajectory. This is the trend. And there were things that we knew were going to happen years ago that we're seeing that fulfillment kind of, come to play. And so what I'm excited to do is for you and I to take everything in context and say, this is what has happened over the last decade or so. And based on what happened last year, here's what we're think we're going to see in 2023. So we've got a handful of predictions each. And haven't really shared them with each other. So I'm kind of excited to do this, but why don't you kick it off, Jason? What's your first sort of recap / prediction for 2023 in the new year for Amazon?
Well, I can't help but think that this is the first full calendar year with Andy Jassy as CEO at Amazon. And, I think that I don't think that I would have anticipated last year at this time that Andy Jassy would have made as many changes as he did this year. And, I think the general theme has been cuts, and more cuts. He's cutting costs, shift from growth to profit taking, or as Amazon likes to call it, harvesting the seeds that they've sowed, has led to a lot of departures. Dave Clark was a big one. Dave Clark, was the head of this miracle of COVID shipping and fulfillment. And now he's part of he's running Flexport, which is a very interesting one for us to watch. I think that the legislators are going to help Flexport at some point in 2023. That's my first prediction. Jeff Blackburn, head of media, has left again. My guess is that Andy Jassy's coming in there and saying, you're going to make money or not? And if you're not going to make money, what are you doing here? And Jeff's like, I'm out. Alicia Bowler Davis, this was really sad news. A lot of the diversity in their leadership left. Head of fulfillment, Alicia Bowler Davis. Dave Bozeman, VP of trucking, they're out. He's cutting costs and harvesting profits. And I don't think I would have anticipated. In retrospect, it makes a lot of sense. He doesn't have a choice But to do this, growth is definitely taking a back seat. And guess what, Shannon? It's day 2 at Amazon.
Yeah, it is. It is interesting, Jason, not only to see all the changes, but especially as Amazon focuses on profitability, how much they still handicap sellers.
That's the flip side, right? They're cutting, and they're raising with the seller fees. It's not the ideal situation. It's not what I would hope for sellers. I would hope that they understand, that Andy Jassy understands that the seller community that we're a part of on the agency side and the managed services side is incredibly important to the profitability of that company. It's a good point. It's like on one hand, they're cutting on their own level and they're raising on sellers. That's a very favorable equation. The only reason they're able to do that, Shannon, is they got monopoly power. What do you got?
So I think, based on what I've seen, that Amazon is going to provide more direct access to Amazon customers, but in more controlled ways. And so we've seen this with things like manager customer engagement. There's a now Get Product Support. It's a paid program that you can, that sellers can opt into, but it allows direct contact between customers and sellers when customers have an issue with the product. So right now, you can request a refund or a return. There's no middle option to actually get help with the product. And how great would it be if you could say, hey, I just have a question about how to assemble it, or I'm having trouble getting it to work right, or one of the pieces is defective. Wouldn't it be so great to just have the seller send that one piece as opposed to replace or refund the whole thing? So Amazon is providing more access to customers, but in very controlled ways. And I think that's a good thing. I mean, I'm thankful for that. But I do think that Amazon's going to continue rolling that out more and more. Kind of a part 2 of that is, I think we're going to see the proactive buyer-seller messaging completely shuttered this year. We've just seen over the last several years, Amazon's become more restrictive. They've allowed customers to opt out of that. They've started banning sellers or restricting them for 30 days if they violate one of their sort of 10 different rules. But I call it Amazon roulette, because if you change your messaging a little bit and sort of guess what Amazon is flagging you for, and you get it wrong one time, you're restricted for life from proactive buyer-seller messaging. It's like, what's the point? So I think based on that, we're going to see Amazon completely can that. We've seen them can things like seller responses to customer reviews, which I think was really, really sad a few years ago. And so again, Amazon's opening some more new doors and shutting some old ones. So that's kind of my thought on where we're going to see customer engagement happen in 2023.
So Shannon, repeat again the name of that program that allows for customer service. I was talking to a client yesterday and I could not remember the name of the program. Can you just repeat it for my benefit?
How it shows up in the dashboard is Get Product Support. And we'll do a whole separate episode on this because it's really fascinating. They're rolling it out to bigger brands like Sony and some of these bigger household name brands, but they're also allowing sellers to sign up. And the company that they partnered with to do this basically charges a fee to get you set up and sort of host your support page monthly. But you can do customer chat, you can do queues, you can do how-to videos. I mean, Amazon's never allowed that before, but I think it's a win-win-win. And that's the part that you kind of mentioned in your first prediction is, when Coca-Cola rolled everything out to go global, they said, we want everybody who touches Coca-Cola products to win, to make money. And that's what allowed them to achieve it. And Amazon has not taken that same approach. They want some people to be able to make money. They want Amazon to be able to make money. They want the shareholders to be able to make money, but not necessarily everybody along the line. So those are kind of my predictions. My first prediction for 2023.
My second clarifying question on your second one, you said the words, Amazon's going to can it. When you mean can it, you mean kill it? Or do you mean they're going to create these templates that you can only respond with templates? No more customization.
Yeah, right now it's the request a review button. And Amazon will probably modify that, allow you to put in your brand name or your brand logo. So like minor customization. But the fact that they're restricting sellers without telling them why and giving them any guidance whatsoever, it's a moot point. It's useless. And we've had templates that worked for years that Amazon approved, and all of a sudden we're getting flagged and shut down. And like I said, 2 restrictions and you're done. What's the point? So I think Amazon's probably going to shutter it because you just can't use it anymore. You just can't use it with any reliability.
On the flip side of that, Shannon, no customer wants to get that email from the seller who says, I can't feed my baby if you don't leave me a 5-star review. Of course, I'm exaggerating, but you know what I mean, right? They got pretty ridiculous in the seller community. I actually think it's less work for sellers if they just have to select a template, put your name in there, don't get cutesy, don't try to trick things, don't try to violate TOS. So I'm actually okay with that one. I think that more of them will get seen and read if they don't get too crazy on the customization side.
I agree. And I would love to see Amazon provide 3 templates that you could use based on the type of product you have. Like, here's a link to an assembly video. That would be awesome. That's hosted on Amazon. So I do think it's moving in the right direction. But it only works if you shut one door. You've got to open a window somewhere. You've got to allow sellers to communicate with customers moving forward. All right, Jason, what's your next one? What do you got?
Looking back at the acquisitions that Amazon had, on one hand, I'm telling you that Andy Jassy's cutting costs. On the other hand, he's writing multi-billion-dollar checks for companies like MGM was the first big one. That was an $8.5 billion acquisition. That one got past the FTC and was approved. However, the subsequent acquisitions may not get approved, and I'll tell you why. There's a board of 4 on the FTC. Lena Khan is the head of the Federal Trade Commission. At the time the MGM merger went down, Lena Khan had only 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans, so it was a draw. So the acquisition went through. But now one of those Republicans is gone, has been replaced with a Lena Khan favorite, and so now there are 3 Democrats and 1 Republican. And the One Medical acquisition, which was this sort of modern tech enabled, what's it called, primary care company, One Medical, and the iRobot acquisition. One Medical was 3.9 billion, iRobot was 1.7 billion. They were announced within a period of 2 weeks, which was just insane. Those have to go through the scrutiny of the FTC, and Lena Khan and her team of her majority of 3 may say, not so fast, Amazon. We're not too keen on the idea of you using and collecting data on people's personal medical health and intermingling that with commerce. Same thing with iRobot. We may not be too keen on you buying your number 1 competitor in the robotic vacuum cleaner space called iRobot. We don't like that. We'll see what happens on those. I personally think that at least one of those is going to get rejected. It's interesting that Amazon also purchased companies in India and Germany and the EU. New legislation, Amazon recently came to the negotiating table with EU regulators to give on several antitrust issues that they were experiencing, or that the regulators in the EU and the UK said that they were experiencing. So I'm paying a lot of attention to the EU and the UK to see how Amazon is able to grow with these new constraints. One of them is Andy Jassy's biggest complaint about the big antitrust bill, Amy Klobuchar's bill here in the United States, which is if we have to allow others to offer Prime service, Prime will break. And your Prime service consumer will go right down the toilet. Well, guess what? They have to allow others in the EU and the UK now to do that. It was a concession Amazon made. My guess is it's going to be just fine for Amazon and for the Amazon consumers. It's going to introduce a lot of investment to companies like Flexport to be able to do, and remember, Dave Clark's in charge of that company, to be able to do a lot of those services and in a way that doesn't hurt the Amazon Prime experience. It's good for sellers, and I think it's good for consumers. So we're going to see what happens over there, Shannon. But I think that a couple, if not both of those big acquisitions in the United States will be rejected.
My next one is, this is based on a lot of things. Amazon rolled out Amazon Post. They rolled out Amazon Live over the past few years. This is not just last year, but this is sort of the introduction of let's find ways to allow sellers and brands to engage socially on the Amazon platform. Now, I don't think Amazon is ever going to be a social media platform. You're never going to go on there and post pictures of your kids, right? Just for the heck of it. You're not going to share photos with grandparents, that kind of thing. But here's my prediction. I think that influencers are going to play a bigger role in Amazon product launches than ever before. But I don't think Amazon's going to be the one to figure it out. They have clearly shown with things like Amazon Live that they have no experience in pairing brand owners and qualified influencers who are a good match and a good fit and who have an audience. That's always been the challenge is, you want to get in front of an influencer who has the same audience. You could say, hey, here's my new baby product. Here's my new auto product. Here's my new whatever it is, because Amazon has, and probably rightly so, put a lot of restrictions on how you can launch a product, right? And the whole idea, we've talked about this in past episodes, is you've got to borrow social proof to launch a product on Amazon when it has no product reviews in order to get legitimate, authentic reviews from actual customers. Yeah, from actual customers who paid their own money. And influencers are the best way to do that. But I mean, Amazon Live, you go on and you say, I love this Amazon Live influencer. I love, their stream. I'd love to submit the product and say, hey, can you promote this on your next live? The way you'd have to do that is you have to literally grab their name, go to Google, find their Instagram account. It's ridiculous. There's no pairing. And Amazon has sort of a creator connections, have not heard great feedback about that. And again, Amazon knows their core competency. It's e-commerce platform development. That's what they're great at. And so I think that, it's something that we're going to look at and see more and more of, where you can launch a product legitimately within TOS overnight and get hundreds, if not thousands of orders and product reviews the right way by getting that product to influencers or micro influencers and sharing those affiliate links, to Amazon. So that's where I see the trend going in 2023.
And so what you're saying is that Amazon, somebody else, a third-party company, is going to figure this Amazon influencer thing out. Then Amazon's going to buy that company, and then Lina Khan's going to reject the acquisition. That's basically what I'm doing.
As a merger of our two predictions.
I love it. That's great. It's not convoluted at all. And also, by the way, Amazon, pull your head out and make on the homepage of Prime Video a channel for Amazon Live. No one's paying attention to it. It's not generating any revenue unless it's a celebrity influencer. Give that thing some airtime. Let folks with their remote say thumbs up or thumbs down on an Amazon Live Prime. Surface the good ones to the top and make it a legitimate channel in Prime Video. Give that thing a shot. I mean, come on.
I think it's part of a theme that we've seen, and I was excited to make some great connections at Amazon Accelerate. But the theme that we've seen is you have Amazon engineers and business operators creating products and creating tools within Amazon completely disconnected from the sellers that they are intended to serve and represent. And it means they wind up developing tools that people don't need, that people don't use, and not developing the ones that are really going to be successful. So
it's tough to do, but come on, they need to do better. I agree with you, Shannon.
It's possible. All right, Jason, what's your next big one? What's your next 2023 prediction?
Well, my favorite topic, of course, is antitrust, and not just with Amazon, but Google, Facebook, all of this, right? But let's focus on Amazon for right now. Christmas came early for Lina Khan and her counterpart at the DOJ. And what do I mean by that? As part of the big spending bill that passed in December, the Merger Filing Fee Modernization Act, I forget what the actual number of the bill is, was passed. Now, what does that do when one of these big companies acquires another company like, I don't know, an iRobot? A lot more money in fees is going to go to the DOJ's and the FTC's antitrust division. Right now, the FTC and the DOJ don't have as many lawyers as Amazon, Google, Facebook. They just can't compete. So what this is going to do is going to inject, potentially, the projection is, over $1 billion into their coffers so that the FTC and the DOJ can have some teeth and some enforcement and some labor and some talent in order to determine whether these companies are monopolies or not, and to take appropriate action. So, I was really hoping that S2992, the Amy Klobuchar bill that would really limit some of the power of Amazon and others, would be passed as part of this omnibus bill. It didn't happen. I still think that antitrust is coming. I still think that there is a slim chance that the Amy Klobuchar, Chuck Grassley bill gets passed in 2023. It's going to be a little bit harder with the Republican House in power, but that majority is so slim. I think there's a deal to be made in there. So that's one prediction. Even though the 2992, S292, the Senate bill did not get passed, I think there's a real chance a variation of that bill gets passed in 2023 in spite of a Republican House. I think the Democrats are just going to have to give some special sauce in there for Republicans to get them to cross the line of departure. Also, the Inform Act was also passed as part of that big spending bill. Now, what this does is it requires what the legislators call big sellers to share their business identity with these third-party marketplaces so that consumers can know this is a real company that I'm buying from. Now, if you're an eBay seller and you're doing less than 200 sales a month, you can keep your side hustle and you're fine. You don't have to report or let people know what your home address is. But if you're working out of your home and your business address is a home, now's a good time to set up your UPS store or their USPS store address, right? Because you're going to be required, if you're getting more than 200 sales, to tell your consumers who you are, where you are, and what you're about. And so you and I I think we were on opposite ends of that one earlier last year, but I think this is a good thing. And I think if nothing else, it gets some of these folks who got their side hustle going to take that next step and create a separate address and a separate entity, and hopefully product liability insurance to cover their butts so that a consumer doesn't come for their home if something bad happens on one of these products that they're selling. It's 200 sales or $5,000 in sales per year, whichever is the greater. Again, my prediction, just wrapping it up, the FTC is going to take existing action with existing laws, and they're going to have the funds in order to get behind those. And I do think that Amy Klobuchar, Senator Grassley's bill, does make it across the finish line in 2023. I'm going to keep making that prediction until it happens, Shannon, because it didn't happen in 2022, and I thought it was, but I'm putting my neck on the line. It's going to happen this year. Antitrust is coming for the big four, the big five, whatever you want to call them: Apple, Facebook, and then Amazon. They're just too powerful. They're too powerful, and it's going to be good for small businesses, small business owners, Amazon sellers. Don't let the fear tactics that those big 4 or 5 are funding scare you. This action will be good for you, and it'll be good for your business.
Yeah, and I think you and I are in complete agreement that business information should be disclosed. I just like the idea of platforms giving the sellers a heads up, saying, hey, in 30 days, this is all going public. So make sure that you've got your ducks in a row. Yeah, if you ship out of your home, you might want to have a separate address, because to be fair and honest, I don't think people necessarily want or need that sort of invasion of privacy if that's the case. But the other thing, Jason, we did a podcast on box suppression, and then the California Attorneys General filed suit against Amazon that came out during Amazon Accelerate. Any movement along those lines for that case that we've seen in 2022, or where you think that will end up in 2023?
Well, I can only speak about public information there on that California AG filing. I think that Amazon's lawyers are trying to dismiss this. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't know. I think that the California AG as well as the DC AG are right in saying that this practice of buy box suppression, what Amazon calls removing you from the buy box if you have a non-competitive price, is raising prices on the entire internet. Amazon owns half of the online market share according to GMV, gross merchandise value, the retail value of goods sold. So if sellers can't offer a lower retail price for the same product they're selling on Amazon, on Walmart, because their fee structure is less, that's raising prices on the internet. That's not good for consumers. It's really bad for sellers, and it's really bad for competition. I think Walmart will ascend greater, and they will eat some of that market share and grow that market share in 2023. And when the California AG wins this lawsuit, yep, that's my prediction, 20 other states will file the same lawsuit, and they will win it, and the game will change. And now all of a sudden, Walmart can come in here, and other online marketplaces can come in here and offer a lower fee structure. Amazon sellers, without retribution from Amazon, will be able to come in and offer lower prices on other marketplaces, and those marketplaces will have a chance to survive and thrive. Walmart being one of them. I think it's going to happen. I hope it's going to happen. I think it would be great, not only for Amazon sellers, but for consumers and for other online marketplaces. Let's be honest, Shannon, brands want more options than just Amazon. And Amazon will have to immediately lower their fee structure. And then that's the way they can compete on price, by lowering their fees. They don't want to talk about that, but that's the prediction. It's kind of 2 in 1. Walmart's going to gain market share, and it's going to be helped by the California AG's office winning this lawsuit, or at least getting a temporary restraining order against this practice before their lawsuit is won.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've been talking to a client who wants to increase their prices on Amazon, but can't due to buy box suppression. And it's like, if they could do that, they're willing to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in advertising revenue, driving more traffic, more sales. And because of a higher price point, Amazon would actually earn higher referral fees, higher commissions for each sale. And so I think, the back of the napkin flywheel that we've all seen, the lower prices equals more customers, equals more sellers offering more products, and, generating that flywheel. That's got to change. I know that that was the initial emphasis, but the only sellers that are going to be able to compete on Amazon's restriction is direct from China factories. And that's not to say anything negative against direct to China factories. They are just the only players who are going to be able to play that game successfully, and potentially wiping out hundreds of thousands of US sellers and brands, I think would decimate the brand equity that Amazon's worked so hard to build.
Yeah, I mean, I look forward to this day happening. Buy box suppression is a scourge on humanity. It's terrible. Get rid of it. Amazon shouldn't be allowed to do this. It's illegal. I believe it's an illegal practice, and we'll see. I don't know. I don't have any more information than anybody else does on this, Shannon. And ultimately, I hope that it happens, but we'll see.
It's interesting. You sort of mentioned, Walmart playing the game, eBay trying to eke out a little bit of market share. People have made the argument that Walmart's going to come back, and I hope they do. I actually think that the next disruptive innovator is going to be an app-based platform that allows sellers, brand owners, to set prices and allows customers to sort and filter by things that are more than just price, such as eco-friendly, right? Such as, zero emissions, right? Or companies that have a just cause, right? As we see sort of a new generation of consumers come up, they don't just care about price. They also care about the people along the line of supply chain that are impacted and affected. And then it just comes down to fulfillment and logistics. But that's my prediction, is that the company that disrupts Amazon is not going to be Walmart. It's going to be a new app that maybe hasn't even been developed yet, but it is going to be a way that allows consumers and brand owners to interact in a way that creates a quality experience and allows them to engage in a meaningful way. And I think that that's going to happen on a place that is a lot more socially and environmentally aware and friendly.
I think it would be a better world if that were to come to play, Shannon. But after doing this for 20 years, I don't know. I don't know if that business is out there. Maybe the younger generation can prove me wrong, and I hope that they do. But at the end of the day, I just don't know that folks lead with the social conscience. I hope that consumer base continues to grow, but right now it's pretty small. It's sort of a nice to have, but I hope you're right. TikTok is another one that I left off my list, but talk about an app base. They're going to make a lot of investment into fulfillment here in the United States. And, we just wrapped another episode with Steve Simonson about China. And, Steve's prediction is the trend after 30 years of going offshore has to be coming back onshore. It's going to be different, but that trend, you've got to be able to make your products closer to where your end consumer is. And I think that will be a key driver after COVID problems and all of the things that we've experienced over the last 3 years. And I hope that also drives sort of, some of that social improvement by just bringing manufacturing, whether it's robotic or not, closer to where the end consumer is.
All right, we cannot talk about 2023 without talking about advertising. So I'll let you go first with your prediction. I know we tend to cover things from opposite angles, macro, micro, a little bit of, high level external versus, in the weeds internal. So why don't you start first and talk about your advertising prediction based on everything that happened in 2022 with advertising?
Yeah, Amazon advertising it's like a tiger crouched to pounce. This thing, it may be day two in the marketplace and Amazon as an e-commerce play, but it is definitely day one for Amazon advertising. And what do I mean by that? If you look at the Q3 numbers, Snap, Meta, Alphabet all posted declining ad revenue growth percentages. Meta actually shrunk for the first time in its history. It declined in ad revenue almost 2%. Amazon sponsored and DSP ads grew faster than both the ads duopoly, the Facebook and the Alphabet. Google duopoly, their growth rate is much faster. They have better first-party data. They should send a thank you letter to the head of Apple every single day for the privacy policy change that they made that's really caused a lot of problems for Facebook. But Amazon's like, whatever. I know the first-party data. What do we say all the time when we're talking to clients? Facebook knows what you like. Google knows what you search, but Amazon knows what you buy. Their data is better than anything. And now with DSP and with sponsored ads, you have the ability to drive traffic from your Amazon brand store to your DTC website. I think that's a huge revenue growth opportunity, not only for DTC website owners, but also for Amazon. You can also, through DSP, it was announced publicly recently that through DSP, you can use those amazing Amazon first-party audiences and drive traffic to your direct-to-consumer website. It is a game changer. I predicted it for 2 years. I think I first predicted this back at 2020 or 2021 at the Prosper Show, which, by the way, is coming up in March, Shannon. And I know you're going to be giving a good talk on Amazon SEO. So be sure that you sign up for the Prosper Show. But I think that Amazon advertising is really the future. I think if we look back on this in 10 years, Amazon will have a significant portion of ad revenue, much greater. They'll be much larger than Facebook, Meta, whatever the hell their name is today. This is why I think Walmart ascends. Walmart brought in $1 billion plus in ad revenue. Those ad dollars are going to build out their infrastructure to become a competitive marketplace, right? You're going to see Macy's doing it. Apple is going to be a huge ad revenue. So, the honeymoon's over for Alphabet and Meta in that regard. And there's a lot more folks with first party data, and TikTok is another one that's coming in for their ad revenue dollars. And it's definitely day two for Meta, Facebook, in terms of ad revenue. They got to figure something out. But Amazon is in the catbird seat right now for sure.
It's interesting. Mine kind of dovetails perfectly from where's yours left off, which is as more and more brands advertise on Amazon, and as Amazon launches more and more ad spaces. I think somebody posted on LinkedIn somewhat humorously, like, okay, Amazon, thank you. Please don't introduce any more ad spaces, because it's getting to the point where there's like almost no more organic space left, right? And the fact that Amazon has given sellers enough ways to advertise and spend money, right? At some point, you have to recoup that with a sale. And so my prediction is that while Amazon advertising will always play a significant role, and Amazon is a pay-to-play platform, I think more and more brands are going to be looking for ways to drive off Amazon traffic to their Amazon storefront. And that could be, honestly, using Google, even using Facebook social, a combination of paid and organic, that because of that continually increasing level of competitiveness, as well as the cost per click. I mean, cost per clicks are only going through the roof. And Amazon is like, great, we're happy to let all of these brands battle it out because they just make more money. And the only thing that happens to the brands and the sellers is that they lose more and more margin, that they're getting that greater squeeze. And so that it plays into the earlier part of our conversation in terms of margin and fees and everything else. But my guess is more and more brands and sellers are going to be looking for additional traffic sources, even driving to the Amazon platform, but in addition to Amazon advertising.
But remember, DSP is external traffic. When you get a display ad or a video ad or a TV ad off of an Amazon-owned property. So I think that DSP will play a big part in that external traffic as well. I don't discount what you're saying. Brands are just going to have to get over the fact that half of the buying public, more than half of the buying public, want to buy on Amazon because it's so easy. You just pull up your phone, you pull up the Prime app, you do a quick search, you select one of your multiple addresses. If you want to send something to your brother or your sister, it's easy. You got all your credit cards in there. It's just so convenient. Amazon knows what you buy, and they know that when they grease the skids to make it as easy as possible to buy, shoppers buy more. So I think it's a good prediction, Shannon. More external traffic, and people are just going to have to understand that we live in this sort of dogs and cats living together agnostic world. It shouldn't matter where your traffic comes from as long as it's converting somewhere.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. And DSP is a huge thing. I mean, that's why, out of 7, we've gotten our DSP seat to be able to provide that to our clients. It's incredible what you can do with Amazon DSP. I mean, they've made that media buying, the automated process so incredible, and the ability to find audiences that is endless and be able to fine tune that is really incredible. I'm really excited about what we're going to be able to do for our clients this next year. There's a couple more, two more I think that I really want to cover. Number one is buy with Prime. Amazon announced this at the Amazon Accelerate conference. And again, it shows a little bit in the shift in mentality. I mean, Amazon's initial mentality was always about lowest prices and drive all traffic to Amazon. And for the first time ever, they're saying, we're okay if you drive traffic off Amazon with those brand ads and things, specifically to a Shopify storefront. that has buy with Prime. Talk a little bit about what that could mean for brands and sellers in
I mean,
2023.
when I went and met with my good friend Jerry Cavish before the Amazon Accelerate conference, and we had dinner together when we were there, Shannon. And when he told me that about this buy with Prime rollout that he had listened to the night before we got into Seattle, I almost fell out of my chair. I was like, holy cow, this is crazy. I mean, I knew that buy with Prime had been announced long before Accelerate, but the ability to drive traffic, Amazon traffic, to your brand store, and some of the numbers that we were hearing in terms of increased conversion rate when on a brand store, a consumer can buy on Prime or on their own direct to consumer channel was fascinating to me. So what does this tell me? From a business perspective, if we take this all the way up at the 40,000 foot level, I think that this tells us that Andy Jassy thinks that he can make as much money providing fulfillment services. It's definitely a profit center. They're making money off of you, Amazon seller, with your FBA fees and your storage fees and all the ticky-tacky extra fees, that other fees that they throw on and returns and all that stuff. They're so confident in their ability to make money as a fulfillment channel that they're willing to do this. Secondly, they're doubling down on they're going to be an ad revenue model. At some point in the future, they've got to do it. And maybe they're thinking that if they can make more money by offering fulfillment services and advertising, maybe then they can lower that seller fee or get rid of it altogether. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens when they can no longer buy box suppress anyone, what their next move will be. But I think buy with Prime is very interesting. It's fascinating. No one has the direct to the door delivery, final mile delivery network that Amazon has. Planes, trains, automobiles, ships, everything. They got it all, Shannon. So I think they're looking to leverage that in time to harvest some profits from it.
My next prediction for 2023, we've seen these statistics again. It's not like you have to be this amazing visionary to predict the future. You just watch the trend, right? And what we've seen over the past 5 years is more and more shopping is done on mobile, right? So we've just seen that migration. And so I think that what we're going to see is more and more listings optimized for mobile. I think it's going to impact the way that brands and sellers, including what we do for our clients, are going to be specifically mobile friendly. I know that storefronts have the mobile friendly option. I am hoping that Amazon A+ content will roll out the ability to do mobile friendly images. You got these great big banner graphics that cover, the entire screen, which look amazing on desktop, not so much on a tiny phone. You've got to give people the ability to do two different sizes, right? It's the same content, but you've got to be able to do it and make that, sort of portrait as opposed to landscape. And so I think that we're going to see more and more things optimized for mobile. And I'm hoping that if Amazon acknowledges that, we'll really be able to see that in terms of being able to optimize every single aspect of your Amazon listing, including those product videos landscape. We know Amazon's coming out with some social TikTok-like video feeds and stuff, but if you've got a product video, why not allow sellers to upload that in both a desktop and a mobile friendly version? Because it just makes sense. That's what people are shopping on now.
My next one here, looking back on 2022, is it was really evident at the Amazon Accelerate conference that Amazon is using different language when they talk about the seller community. They use the word partners. I remember in my very first Amazon contract, in the contract, this very thick paper contract that I had to print out and sign. That's how long ago it was. They prevented us from calling Amazon a partner. And now they're coming out at Amazon Accelerate and using the partner language. It may seem like a small thing, but it's a big deal. And they spent a lot of time and energy in their words from Amazon leaders talking about how important the seller community is. Now, the question is as we look forward to 2023, will they follow through on that? I don't think so. I think that their words, all you have to do is look at from the time we left the Accelerate conference to today, we're still seeing, you alluded to it before, they make these changes. They don't give any kind of announcement. They don't help give sellers time to prepare. They randomly and quickly raise fees at will. So I just think that the words that they're sharing are not going to match their actions in 2023. Now, maybe by the time the next Accelerate conference happens in Q3 of 2023, maybe they're doing more of that. I welcome the new language. I would just rather, show me, don't tell me. That's what we'll be about in 2023. And I just don't see much changing unless the government mandates that they do so.
It's a really great point. And a caveat to that is there are individuals, many individuals at Amazon who want that and are doing their best and trying, they're doing their damnedest to provide that, but are handicapped at some level, right? There's a lot of bureaucratic loopholes they have to jump through to do that. But I think that there are so many, bright people out there who are exposed to the issues and problems that sellers and Amazon faces every day. I mean, obviously people on our team, but people like Chris McCabe and Lee McHugh, who they see all the corruption and all the bad actors. And not only that, do we know and we can see here's what's happening, which I think there's a lot of people at Amazon who aren't even aware of what's happening, but provide some really simple solutions and fixes. And I'll give you an example. We talked a little bit about review manipulation, and we talked about this idea of when you go into a casino, they know exactly statistically, how much somebody can win before they know they're cheating. And all it takes is a very simple algorithm to get put in place to say, look, out on average, 100 orders will get one product review and 10 or 12 product ratings. And we know if they're getting 20 reviews or 50 reviews or 90 product ratings, something's wrong. Automatically flag it, open an investigation. If Amazon says we don't have the manpower, that's ridiculous. It's bunk. It's a software thing. You can know that it's statistically improbable for an ASIN or a seller to get that many ratings or reviews.
1,000 reviews with 100 sales, you mean? How's that possible? Yeah, right. It's a no-brainer.
The fact that this has not been done, it is literally the flip of a switch. I know there's some programming there, but with a company Amazon size, you can do it.
And I think that we're going to have him on the show in 2023, right? I'm really looking forward to that episode. He figured it out.
Yeah.
Him and a couple of developers. He's amazing. So I'm looking forward to hearing his take on that too, Shannon. You're right. There's no excuse for allowing bad fake reviews on the platform. And more importantly, allowing bad apples, sellers, a lot of them coming from mainland China, to sell on the platform. Cut those guys off. Do the right thing. Because you know why? Not only is it better for the sellers who are following your rules, Amazon, but it's also really important to the consumer. If they don't trust your reviews, what have you got? You've got a big problem, right? So I totally agree with you.
Jason, there's a lot of talk and a lot of rumors and a lot of fear. I mean, we've seen a lot of hesitation and fear from sellers across the board in the industry. Recession. What are your thoughts both in terms of what may happen, but even more importantly, how will Amazon and Amazon sellers be impacted if there is a recession, and to what degree that may impact, the supply chain?
Shannon, as you mentioned, I've been in this game for about 21 years now, right? We're 2023. So it's more than 20 years now. And I've been through one or two recessions along the way, including the great one, in 2008 and 2009. And it's the easiest thing in the world to do as you read the CNBC or the Bloomberg News and you see all these very big, powerful CEOs say, trouble's coming, there's trouble on the horizon. The easiest thing to do is say, oh, well, just excuse the lack of growth, right? Remember, you're in a much different position. You're in a position to grow and eat market share. And this is how I've approached every recession in my entire time is your competitors there are competitors that you're competing against right now who are going to die during this recession. Be ready to pounce. Be ready to eat the market share that opens up from companies who are barely hanging on, who get a nudge off the cliff and fall to their demise during this recession. Be ready to pounce. Continue to keep your growth mindset. Especially if you're a startup, if you're a smaller business, now is an opportunity for you to shine. But if you look back 100 years, some of the biggest well-known brands in the world started and became famous during a recession because they didn't give into it, right? They didn't give into the animal spirits that, in my mind, are going to move us into a recession. If the Fed doesn't do it by raising rates too much, or all of these CEOs getting on and talking about the recession is coming, we're going to be in a recession. But that doesn't mean that you should drop your pack. It means you should keep your growth mindset. So I think we are going to have a recession. I think on Amazon and even on Walmart, sometimes Walmart does really well during recessions. I think that it's going to be a recession light, and there's going to be opportunities of smart entrepreneurs and brand owners looking to eat up that market share from their competitors who are looking at this recession in all the wrong way.
Yeah. Andy Grove, who wrote Only the Paranoid Survive, who ran Intel for many years, I mean, he grew up, as a young kid during the Holocaust, and his mom had to move him from place to place, hiding under false names. And I think, sadly, he carried a lot of that sort of trauma and paranoid mindset into his adult life to run a company. And while there's some challenge, interpersonal drama there, it also made him very successful as a business leader. And when recessions hit, they doubled down on R&D. They doubled down in investing for growth for the future. And we know that, sort of the key dependencies that we provide to our clients who we're signing on to say, look, these are the things that you have to commit to. And one of those certainly is you've got to have a growth pipeline. Don't look to scale back, to pare down. Once you do that, you're basically accepting defeat. Find ways that you can grow, because it does provide opportunity. In fact, I was talking to one of our account managers today, and they worked at a company that sold, headphones. Well, during the pandemic, you have all these companies shuttering, but you have all these people working from home. What are they ordering? Headphones so that they can do Zoom calls. I mean, it's like there are business opportunities there
Pivot.
if you're willing to take them.
It's a great opportunity to pivot. It's a great opportunity to double down on the stuff that's really working for your business. I love your comment and your quote from Andy Grove about investing in growth. You have to do it. You have to do it. And the folks that are your competitors who aren't doing that are going to wish they had, and you'll be able to eat their share. So love that, Shannon. Is there any other predictions or comments about 2022, the year that was and the year that will be?
I think it's going to be a great year. I really do. And I think there's an element of nimbleness that brands need to approach the year with. Eric Koymans, who is going to be speaking at Prosper Show on having a multi-channel strategy, you could come just for that talk, because I know it's going to be amazing. That companies who give themselves more options for fulfillment, for sales, for sourcing and production, they have leverage and they will survive those ups and downs because they're not relying on one supplier, on one channel, on one method for delivery and fulfillment. And so, that's just sort of that common prediction of, if you want to succeed, you've got to stay nimble and you've got to have options. And diversification is definitely one of the best ways to do that.
Totally agree. Look, folks, in the final analysis, the Amazon story never disappoints. We're going to be talking about this a year from now, and we're going to have a lot of amazing stories about things that Amazon did that we never predicted. I think we're going to have some predictions that are going to be wins here, Shannon. We'll have to check on the scorecard this time next year. Amazon won e-commerce, and they changed the world. Their success and their size are creating insurmountable, inevitable issues for them, but also for U.S. consumers. And I think this is the year, finally, when some of that power comes in check, and more power will be put back in the hands of the small business owner, the entrepreneur, the SMBs that make this country tick. And I'm looking forward to that. I think that we're going to see a lot of strides for the small business and the Amazon seller and the Walmart seller in 2023. Lastly, folks, if you're ready to start growing and protecting your brand on Amazon with a team of experienced Amazon operators, you can visit us at day2podcast.com. That's day2podcast.com. And if you know anyone who would gain valuable insights from this podcast, please share it with them. Thanks for listening. Happy New Year and happy selling.